seasoned software architects and authors of the book Software Architecture with C# 12 and .NET 8, published by Packt. Francesco is the creator of the MVC and Blazor control toolkits, and Gabriel is an Azure Platform as a Service specialist and university instructor. Together, they come with extensive experience in software development and AI systems. Today, we are going to talk to them about their book, the integration of AI in architecture, the impacts of cloud-native computing on enterprise applications, and the evolving role of architects in a rapidly changing technological landscape. So first of all, big welcome to you both, Francesco and Gabriel. It's a pleasure to have you both with us.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay. So to start off, Francesco, could you start by sharing what inspired you to write software architecture with C# 12 and .NET 8?
Yes, the main point was that this book collects various subjects that are hard to find together in the same place. So I brought down this book mainly to put everything in something solid, like a book, to collect my experience in something solid like a book. And now it is also a valid tool for my job, for my advisory job, and for my courses, and also for my customers.
Okay, wonderful. And Gabriel, how was it for you?
Well, to me, it was a really important mark in my career because it's not something usual to write a book, right? I've been working in the college, in the industry for a long time. This opportunity to give back to the community a material with, as Francesco said, a complete pipeline on how to create an enterprise solution was really interesting. And to me, it was really, there's a satisfaction to by having this opportunity to write something like that. And today I can use the book also, as Francesco said, for teaching, or and in my current career, it's possible to apply it also. So it's something that I really enjoy doing. It was a great opportunity to work with Francesco because we shared a lot of common stats that I guess the reader can check in the book. Looks like it's a single person writing, but we are working together for a long time, and it's been really great to have this.
It was a pleasure for me too, Gabriel.
Yeah, I know that. Thank you, Francesco.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think we're going to see the same kind of partnership today in the conversation that we are going to have. And I'm really looking forward to it. So to start with, Gabriel, I would like to ask you, AI is transforming pretty much everything in the techscape. But specifically, could you think of some examples of how AI-driven tools are currently being used in architectural design, and what new paradigms you see emerging from AI's influence in this space?
Yeah, well, AI is the current topic more talked in every single discussion, right? And what I think that we as architects need to understand is that a good AI will need first a good software architecture, because AI just works with good data. Without good data, you cannot have a good AI. But as architects, we will be impacted with AI, positive or negative, depending on the way that we work with it. Let me give two examples. Today it's possible to upload an architecture for an AI like ChatGPT and discuss with the AI if you're doing a good or a bad architecture. It's already done. It's already possible to do so. And in some cases, I've already tried to ask the AI to give me a feedback or to change something in my design. And it's something that it's possible to do. But you as a software architect, you need to be first good analyst, and you need to analyze if that thing that is being produced by AI is correct or not. And I believe, especially in enterprises, This is not something that is pretty easy to do, right? So AI will change the world, but any person needs, I was just talking with my team about that we need to prevent our substitution, let's say, using our intelligence to criticize and to analyze if that output from AI is good or not in every job, in any kind of circumstance. And as software architects, we need to understand that, and we need to develop architectures that will provide good AI. Because if you don't provide good data, you're not going to have good AI. What do you think, Francesco?
Okay, I think that AI is a valuable tool, but actually, at least now, it can replace completely the experience of a professional. It helps saving time. It can suggest choices, but sometimes these suggestions are wrong. Other times, these suggestions may be used as a starting point for further investigation. In any case, an AI can write down some code, some picture, some design that you maybe can use as a starting point, thus saving time. Other time, it can suggest something you have not thought about, and then you have forgotten to analyze. The AI can suggest to analyze it, but this doesn't mean that that will be the best solution. It is just a suggestion. So it is a tool to avoid that something can be forgotten and to help saving time. Just this. At the moment, the experience of the actual profession, maybe an architecture, a program, or whatever, can be replaced. I wasn't able to get a new, completely new algorithm from an AI. So if you had to consider an algorithm, for instance, you can use an AI. At the moment, you are not able to invent a new algorithm. But it is a valuable tool for saving time and to check all possibility. Maybe you forget something, and the AI may remember you that there is also this possibility. And that's all. And there is not too much to say about it. I think that this will not change too much with the time.
Okay.
At least till we will arrive to actual intelligence that is to human-like robot or something like this.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Francesco. This is actually a very good segue into what I was going to ask you next. I was going to ask you what remains irreplaceable about human architects, and I think you've already covered that a little bit. But I wanted you to talk a little bit more about how do you think human architects can effectively use AI to enhance rather than replace their roles in software architecture?
Okay, basically, I already have read the question because architects must use AI to save time,
Yeah.
to write down some starting design, starting code. For instance, in my company, we developed an AI tool that, based on interaction with the architecture, is able to write down a complete Visual Studio solution with all the needed project and so on. And also to write down some initial code, some starting point code. Obviously, this code doesn't work, but it is a good starting point for start to coding, because otherwise the other option will be creating all the solution manually that usually take a lot of time, especially if you use complex architecture like most of the main microservices architecture use complex onion architecture and so on, that require the solution be organized in a complex way, a lot of project involved and so on. AI can help in saving time, writing down mass of code that then you can just modify, but you can save also 50-60% of the actual job. And there is no risk that they will replace us, because the main difficulty is to model the actual world. And at the moment, I have no enough experience of the world to understand directly use the human explained requirements. So there is a big distance between the actual AI and AI that is able to do everything without the help of a human. We are
Yeah.
quite far from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gabriel, would you like to add to that?
Our book discusses especially the role of the software architect in a team, in an enterprise team. And as a software architect, you design the solution and the pipeline for the entire team. You are responsible for the technical stuff that is needed for designing the solution, enterprise solutions. And the AI in this moment can be considered a tool, as Francesco said, to accelerate process not only for the software architect but for the entire team. But I totally agree with Francesco that today the possibilities with the AI is just for start. It's a starting point, right?
Mm.
So you've got to have the dude of a human to analyze if that fits to the necessities, the requirements that are needed for the enterprise solution, especially enterprise solutions where the necessity of a good work is higher, is more important. So, for instance, in a team, you have juniors, you have seniors, you have analysts, and the AI tools, especially for coding, can help not only on creating code, because this most of time is just the beginning, but analyzing if you are doing best practices in the code. So you have copilots that help you with that. So as a software architect, you need to decide if it's good or not for your team, for the improvement of your team, and for the improvement of the velocity of your team. So that's the point that I would say that AI current can help us as software architects to decide the pipeline of a team development.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that, Francesca and Gabriel. And I think that really addresses a kind of growing concern that professionals in the field have about, AI threatening their future. But really, we're not at that place yet where AI can take over their roles. So, Gabriel, let's shift now to talking a little bit about cloud native computing, which is reshaping enterprise applications. So, according to you, what specific architectural practices should be adopted to ensure cloud native systems are resilient and adaptable?
Well, first, it's important to say that in the near future, I believe most of applications will be cloud native. I agree that there are some applications that need to be on the edge, right? But it's almost impossible not to have something running on the cloud to help these applications that are running on the edge. So this is something that every single person that is working on software development nowadays needs to think about. This is something that it must be said. When it comes to have resilient and adaptable software, well, our book discusses a lot about it. Yeah, we have many chapters that discuss resilience. We discuss writing good code and adaptability, especially because the velocity of the development nowadays is huge comparing to some years ago. And the reason why we need to be adaptable is because we we discovered different ways to develop solutions every single day. We have new solutions every single day. We cannot have the same velocity when it comes to architecture, when it comes to software architecture. So what we need to think about is how to design a software architecture that can be adaptable, but can be at the same time resilient, considering all the pre-requirements, and we normally say this as non-functional requirements that we need to implement in your solution, like security, like performance, like resiliency, right? One of the most important things that I believe we need to understand nowadays as developing tools is the resiliency, because an application cannot stop anymore. Especially enterprise applications, they run 24/7, and they need to run in this way. So for that, writing good code, writing code that enables understanding what is going on in the application, writing code that's connected to retries, to better performance, is something that a software architect needs to think from the beginning of the application, from the moment that he or she is starting to understand the requirements of that application.
Right. Francesco, would you like to add your perspective on that?
Okay. In my opinion, it is quite simple. Cloud computing basically means distributed computing, more or less, with something more adaptability. Okay. That means you can change dynamically your hardware. So, cloud computing is exactly about reliability and adaptability. Obviously, you have to use the right architecture. That means the theory that is behind microservices, modern microservices, and cloud. I am speaking of reliable communication, orchestrators like Kubernetes, and automatic scaling, that are both available in various cloud offer and also in Kubernetes, and collecting metrics and change automatically the behavior of the software according to these collected metrics. Well, everything is already in the theory. We are speaking of orchestrators, reliable communication. I would say something more about reliable communication. Actually, microservices application are organized more as an assembly line that process data and transfer from one place to another. So it is unacceptable that some data is lost. Communication must eventually succeed, maybe delayed, but at least eventually must succeed. So there are a lot of techniques. There is also theorems about reliable communication and result what can expect. So what I mean, the hardware is the theory of distributed computing and microservices. Data at the moment is quite advanced. You can find a lot in our book, at least the basics and the starting points.
Okay. Thank you for that. So whoever's listening in or watching, don't forget to take a look at the book written by Francesco and Gabriela. You'll find out a lot more in that, along with practical applications and use cases. So Francesco, let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about security by design. Considering the sophistication of modern cyber threats, could you discuss how security by design principles can be integrated throughout the architecture?
Okay, it's a good question. You have to understand that architecture by design is not a separate subject. It is just a way of doing code, of doing architecture, having in mind security while designing, while coding. So the main answer is education. You must study the right way to do everything, avoiding to invent improbable solutions. And you have to select the right team members. This is the main tool. Okay, that said, it is important that some tool can be used. In my opinion, the best tool is code review. The code being reviewed by a security expert to find security problem, to verify that all best practice actually applied by the developer. So about another important tool is the using existing stacks and library that were already designed with the security in mind, that to respect all best practice. So avoid inventing I don't know a way to handle a stranger way to handle authentication. There are already existing library that were tested and reliable. So in my opinion, the main point: three, education, code review, and using already available tools, library, and stack.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would complement the Francesco answer uh in mention the three topics that he says. So education, right? A software architect needs to study security, information security, something related to information security. For instance, we have OWASP, right? That presents top 10 vulnerabilities that you can have in your APIs. A software architect needs to study about it to prevent code that can cause these vulnerabilities, right? This is one case. For code review, when you think about DevOps, instead of implementing DevOps, why not implementing DevSecOps, right? Where you have, for instance, SAST, static analysis tools, right? That can identify this kind of security issues and help architects and senior developments to review the code that's being produced by the team looking for the security matters. And the third one, we have on OWASP, we also have the importance of choosing correct libraries, because one of the most critical issues that you can have in security is using libraries that are not correctly updated, or they that have some kind of vulnerability that can cause problems. So these 3 points that Francesco has said, as a software architect, you need to think about that and try to implement in your pipeline in security by design development, right? So totally agree with Francesco and just complementing with some tools. That's it.
Yeah, thank you for those like very specific examples and for the three broad areas that you shared, Francesco. Gabriel, so my next question was like slightly related to this one, but it's more about what strategies do you think architects should employ to ensure long-term architectural integrity?
Well, let's say it, architecture of a software is not immutable. You can change. It's live most of time, right? But designing it with the principles that we are discussing here, like security by design, reliability, extendability. I mean, the possibility of adaptability and collecting metrics. This will help you understand if you are struggled in a moment that you need to evolve the architecture or not. I, I I don't like to say, oh, you need to start with the most complex architecture your development, because most of softwares, even enterprise softwares, they don't need essentially the most complex architecture. You need to start simple. My opinion is start your architecture in a simple way, but continually monitor and analyze if you are getting struggled so that you can improve to the next step. It's very easy to do so if you are using technologies, especially in cloud computing, because you can extend your application faster comparing to on-premises solutions where you are struggle to a harder, right? But the main point is think about it of software architecture where, in a simple way, and start evolving based on metrics and on information that your software is implementing to you, is bringing back to you. That's one thing important. And another important thing to ensure a long-term architecture, I would say that okay, it's simple, but think about a pipeline that helps you understand the requirements, analyzes better the necessity, implemented good code, have a good code review, and test the software, and then put it in the production in a quality assurance environment, and then go to production. But it's a simple application with a simple architecture, but with a pipeline that helps you understand better what the application will respond to you.
Okay. I would like to complement what Gabriel said. Okay, with no doubt, the main points are using the cloud, because in the cloud you can easily change the architecture, and monitoring your application so you can understand when your requirement change or when an architectural change is needed. Also true that it is important to understand the requirement, choose the best architecture. Better you choose your architecture, must more time it will last. Okay. I want just to add one more point. In my opinion, it is important to use techniques such as domain-driven design and microservice, because this way we can change just pieces of your architecture. We can make local change without impacting the whole application. This will help making the architecture easily modifiable. If you organize your application this way, each microservice can adopt completely I'd say completely, I don't know, but quite different architectural choices. So you are free, for instance, to change just a small part of the system to tune your application. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Can,
you
can
for that. Yeah,
let me
please,
just
Gabriel.
complement, as Francesco said, uh, uh, we have this view of implementing the application with domain-driven design, and we cannot forget about design patterns that are already help you to write an application that can be extensible. And we have design patterns for the code, and we have design architecture patterns also that can help you out. So when Francesco says, "Oh, implementing a domain-driven design with microservices," this is a pattern. Why not implementing a pattern that the entire world uses as basis, right? So this make things simpler. That's the point that I have mentioned that is connected to what Francesco referenced here.
Right.
But
Okay. Yeah.
uh,
Thank,
it's
yeah. Do you want to add anything, Francesco? Or?
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that very interesting discussion on long-term architectural integrity. But we can only prepare for as much as we can see about the future, isn't it? So my next question for you, Francesco, is how do you envision the evolution of enterprise application architecture with the integration of things like edge computing and increased data centricity? What kind of industry specific impacts do you feel such changes could have?
Okay. Collecting peripheral data and using all available data for decision making for sure is the future, no doubt. And these create the points on solution application must be implemented. For sure, from one side, you have the need to keep data separated for, you have spoken about data-driven design, because each microservice should take care of his own data. There are geographic constraints, there are other constraints to keep data separated. But on the other side, you need to take advantage of all other available data. What this means? This means you need some kind of microservices, worker microservices that consolidate data, take peripheric data, take data from different sources, and somehow consolidate them to feed decision making, the databases of decision making microservices. This is an important point. This will be a central point in the application of the future data consolidation with the help of AI and other statistical technique and so on. You have no, I don't want to make a prevision of what will be the most useful technique for consolidating data. But the future is consolidating data, because data must have the right format and the right level of detail to be useful.
Yeah,
That's all.
I would complement Francesco's answer saying that I believe that in the future, edge computing will impact all the industries. There is no industry that will not need it, because edge compute facilitates the decision on the edge, right? And the decision will be connected to important data for that point with AI in that point. So you need to have edge computing in all the industries. And okay, the decision will be in that point, but the decision made in that point will need to be sent to a central area or a central data database that makes us think about the future of applications will be totally distributed, right? So the principles that Francesco mentioned, like a domain-driven design and microservices, will be more needed because the architecture of all the applications will need to be distributed by design, and we will need to think about how to collect all this data that is on the edge, not the entire data. This is a very important point. And when you design an edge application, because you don't need to send the entire data that you are collecting in that edge point, but you need to send the important decision that was made there for somewhere that will process this and get more value of the information that's being processed on the edge. So distributed solutions will certainly be needed for every single industry.
Okay. Yeah. That makes complete sense. Thank you, Gabriel. And my next question, I think, also transition quite well from this, which is for you, Gabriel. How do you see technological advancements at the moment and the future altering career paths in software architecture? What new skills do you see becoming essential for professional growth?
Well, technically speaking, if you think about what we have set up to here, the understanding of distributed applications, how to implement it is essential, right? Because the okay, we say about microservices, or we can say about serverless architecture, we can talk about IoT solutions, right? But in the essence, we are talking about distributed applications, and the world needs to be distributed, and this is something that, technically speaking, you need to think about. So in the long, not the long, but in the near future, careers of software architectures need to think about distributed applications and information security, right? Because and the AI, of course, the AI is something that we are already mentioning every single moment, but these 3 points, technically speaking, will be needed. I also include something that I think is important for a software architecture, that is the software skills that this software architecture needs to have for implementing the technical stuff that he or she will need to implement. For instance, if you're implementing a DevSecOps pipeline, you will impact the entire team. If you're implementing a SaaS platform that's secured by design, you will impact team. If you're implementing observability, you will need to impact the team. So the team needs to be together with you in this moment, and the software skills will help you with that.
Okay, I agree with Gary. One can say that people would think that would like to prepare for the future need just to move their knowledge toward distributed computing. I mean, learning about orchestrator, DevOps, not only, also about software development technologies, or let's say DevOps, and with security in mind. This is important because there are a lot of developer architects coming from the past that consider security like something that can be attached after the application has been prepared by putting, I don't know, firewalls and something like this. The, updating to the last version and similarly. It is also important to to apply the security by design. This means that both architects and developer that would like to meet the future need to learn this new way to design and write code. They must update their way to write code to design architecture. And together with this, they need to help. They need to learn about distributed computing, DevOps, and new software development methodology. This will be the future. That's all for me.
You're in the mood, I guess. Yeah.
Sorry about that. So my next question is also for Francesco. How do you feel architects can ensure their designs effectively contribute to business outcomes, particularly in industries where technology impacts profound?
Okay. But okay. Mm, uh, to be sure that the point here is to be sure that our job, our architecture, our design choice add value to the business. Okay, this is the point. So, what are the ways, the tools to achieve this result? The first answer is DevOps is the main tool. DevOps is just about this. And okay, maybe this is the answer, but I can say something more. Say collecting metrics. So the importance of collecting data, having architecture that are easy to adapt. So this is a subject. This is a question we have read before, meaning we need architecture that we can modify easily. So again, we have to speak of domain-driven design and microservices. If our architecture is organized with, is designed with these principles in mind, we'll be able to easily modify each single pieces to maximize the value added to the enterprise. So we don't need, if something goes wrong, if there is a problem, we don't need to rewrite a big part of our application. We have to identify the small part was change can give was modification can maximize the value added to the business. So obviously we have also a different, you must say, a different way to approach requirement collection. We have to take under consideration the value added to the business, not only the actual user requirements. We have to change our mind and to think about the value added to the business from the beginning. Is something similar to security by design. When we collect the requirement, and every single piece of the user collected data must be scratched and analyzed at this point of view, considering the value added to business. What value is added to the business by this action? What is the best way to maximize the value added to the business while performing this action, and so on. So, in my opinion, there are two main points: DevOps and no, three: DevOps, domain-driven design and microservices, and then the keeping in mind the value added to the business from the beginning of the requirement collection.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would. Well, Francesco already answered most of. Or just try to summarize it. As Francesco said, DevOps. The answer is DevOps. Why the answer is DevOps? Because with DevOps, you have the possibility to collect information in a small period of time about the evolution of the application. And then you have the feedback that will give you the opportunity to design better the application for the near future, that will have to design the next cycle of DevOps. Architecture by concept is the idea of implementing something that makes things easily to adapt it to maintain, right? So if you have a good architecture, it's going to be easier to adapt for new functionalities that you may have, or to maintain if you have something wrong, right? So if you are good architecture, you will give space for the business team to define better solutions. And with DevOps, you're going to have a faster feedback, and you're going to adapt faster the application, and you're going to give more value to the business. So it's a good cycle when you have DevOps well implemented together with a good architecture design, because you're going to happily increase value of the solution that you are developing.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gabriel and Francesco. This is one of the most interesting conversations I've had, really, and I've really enjoyed spending this time with you. And for those who are watching, if you want to learn more about the fundamentals of software architecture, do check out the book authored by Gabriel and Francesco. We place the link to it within the description. And thank you once again, both, for giving us this time and taking out time from your busy schedule to speak with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. It was a nice chat.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriel.